Everyone, want to take a moment to talk about the fourth studio album by French electronic duo Justice. This is their fourth studio album, Hyperdrama, coming out since their last album, which came out in 2016, which was Woman. And then in 2018, they released a remix album of that Woman album called Woman Worldwide. And I really enjoyed that album. I enjoyed the album Cross. I enjoyed a lot of Justice's album. So hearing that a new Justice album was coming out was really exciting to hear. And overall, listening through it was quite the interesting ordeal. The first half of the album was very danceable. I very much enjoyed the dance numbers on it for the most part. And the second half had a more introspective sounding to it, while still keeping, the dance electronic. It all had this disco influence that's been prevalent on all their other albums, and including this one, no different. The only downside to that is I don't notice much variation from previous albums with that disco influence, which is a bit tough, but they still make it work enough that it's not that big of a deal. I love the thick and heavy bass on Generator, Dear Allen, and Incognito. I think it's applied very well, and it's a very, ear-catching bass that, I'm just a fan. I'm a big bass fan, so it makes sense. I really like the song After Image. Its warm synth and this booming beat were matched perfectly with this ethereal performance by Ramon, I believe is how you pronounce it. Very much like that song. Now, two songs that I was kind of 50-50 on listening to, but I feel like I liked them less and less the more I listened to it, which was Never Ender and One Night All Night, which are both songs that feature vocals from Kevin Parker of Tame Impala. And while I am a fan of both Tame Impala and Justice, and I really thought that these two working together would work well, when the single One Night All Night came out, it was kind of bland to me. I wasn't too interested in it, and I was hoping maybe it'd sound a bit different when the album came out, and there might have been some minor changes that I just didn't notice. But the point is, it didn't make it a lot better, and then Never Ender is even more forgettable to me. It just doesn't do anything that interesting, and just not a big fan. And then possibly my least favorite track on the album, Moonligjt Rendezvous, which is this more sensual and romantic sounding song with this very softly made beat and this saxophone playing in the background, which just surprisingly I forget the saxophone is even there when listening to it, as it just kind of goes in and out of the song, and if it wasn't in it, I still probably wouldn't notice, which, just is fun. It's just the most, boring song on the album, and when it's supposed to be romantic, it comes off more sleepy and tiring than romantic and loving. And then probably the closing track is probably my personal favorite song on the album, The End with Thundercat, as I really love this fast-paced beat that they put on with then just another drum machine going slightly slower, and it manages to mix well, and then this kind of almost crushing bass, and it doesn't sound like Thundercat's bass, which it would have been nice to see a little bit of that on the song, but I think they managed to make it work pretty well. And then when they add his vocals to it, I think it worked really well. And one thing I will say, I did really kind of like the production on this song specifically, as I thought that they managed to make every instrument and facet of the song stand out on its own and not get overwhelming, not get muddied. You really understood what was being played on there, how it all worked well together, and I was a really big fan of that. Overall, I did really like this album. I didn't like it as much as their previous albums, which, to be fair, is kind of a hard ordeal when you have albums like Cross and you have Woman. I think those two are great albums. So sadly, this one would struggle to stand out compared to it. The album cover, though, I will say this beforehand, as a graphic design major, is amazing. I really love how it looks. It's very standout. It very much is very evocative. And with all that being said, I'm feeling a 7 on this album. Let me know what you thought, and I'll see y'all later.